Boys and girls, it's time for story time. It's time for story time. Clap, clap, clap your hands. It's time for story time. I have another story I'd like to share with you on your home days. This one is called Caps for Sale, a tale of a peddler, some monkeys, and their monkey business. Do you know what a peddler is? A peddler is a fancy word for someone who goes around and sells things. Now, we don't see too many peddlers anymore, but way back a long time ago, there would be people who looked like this guy who would walk around and knock on your door, and they would ask you, hey, do you want to buy whatever they're selling? So sometimes it could be maybe candy, sometimes it could be books, and in this case, he's selling caps, which is just another word for hat. So this guy's selling hats. Let's read about our peddler. Once there was a peddler who sold caps, but he was not an ordinary peddler, carrying his wares, which are his things, on his back. He carried them on top of his head. Oh, how silly. First, he had on his own checked cap. You can see his little checkered cap there. Then a bunch of gray caps, all right there. Then a bunch of brown caps. And then a bunch of blue caps. And on the very top, a bunch of red caps. You can see all of his caps or his hats on top of his head. And these are what our peddler is selling. He's trying to find people who will buy his caps. He walked up and down the streets, holding himself very straight so as not to upset his caps. As he went along, he called, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap. He's selling his hats for 50 cents. One morning, he couldn't sell any caps. He walked up the street and he walked down the street calling, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap. But nobody wanted any caps that morning. Nobody wanted even a red cap. He began to feel very hungry, but he had no money for lunch because nobody was buying the hats he was selling. I think I'll go for a walk in the country, said he, and he walked out of town, slowly, so as not to upset his caps. He had to walk very carefully to balance all those caps on his head. He walked for a long time until he came to a great big tree. That's a nice place for a rest, thought he, and he sat down very slowly under the tree and leaned back little by little against the tree trunk so as not to disturb the caps on his head. Then he put up his hand to feel if they were straight. First his own checkered cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, and then the red caps on the very top. They were all there, so he went to sleep. And he slept for a long time. Something's missing. When he woke up, he was refreshed and rested. But look, all of his caps are gone. But before standing up, he felt with his hand to make sure his caps were in the right place. Are they there? No. All he felt was his own checkered cap. I wonder what happened to all of those hats stacked on top of his head. He looked to the right of him, no caps. He looked to the left of him, no caps. He looked in back of him, no caps. He looked behind the tree, still no caps. Then he looked up into the tree. And what do you think he saw? What could it be? On every branch sat a monkey. On every monkey was a gray or a brown or a blue or a red cap. Look at that. All those monkeys stole our peddler's caps. Oh my. I wonder how he's going to get them back. The peddler looked at the monkeys. The monkeys looked at the peddler. He didn't know what to do. Finally, he spoke to them. You monkeys, you, he said, shaking a finger at them. You give me back my caps. But the monkeys only shook their fingers back at him and said, This made the peddler angry. He shook both hands at them and said, You monkeys, you give me back my caps. But the monkeys only shook their hands back at him and said, You're being very silly. Now he felt quite angry. He stamped his foot and he said, You monkeys, you better give me back my caps. But the monkeys only stamped their feet at him and said, I think they're making fun of him. By this time, the peddler was really very, very angry. He stamped both his feet and shouted, You monkeys, you give me back my caps. But the monkeys only stamped both their feet at him and said, I wonder what he's going to do. At last, he became so angry that he pulled off his own cap, threw it on the ground, and began to walk away. Is it very nice to throw things when you get angry? No, we don't do that, do we? But then, each monkey pulled off his cap. You can see they took their caps off just like the peddler did. And all the gray caps, and all the brown caps, and all the blue caps, and all the red caps came flying down out of that tree. So the peddler picked up his caps and put them back on his head. First his own checkered cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, and then the red caps on the very top. And slowly, slowly, he walked back to the town calling, Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap. The end. Wasn't that such a silly story? The monkeys stole his hats and then they copied him. And when he threw his hat down, they copied him, and that's how he got his hats back. So for a silly story, I have a silly activity that you can do at home. You can go around your house, and maybe with the help of your mommy or your daddy or maybe a big brother or big sister, you can find all the hats that you have at your house. So I brought some of our hats that we have at school. We have our turkey hat, a baseball cap, a little dinosaur hat, one of our chef hats, and a cowboy hat. So your silly activity, you're going to try to stack all these hats, all the hats that you can find, on top of your head and see if you can walk around and balance the hats just like the peddler did in our story. So we're going to see if Miss Lydia can balance all of these hats on her head. Oh, don't I look so silly? So after you balance after you balance the hats on top of your head, I want you to try to count how many hats you have. So count with me how many hats I have balanced on my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've balanced 5 hats on my head. So your challenge today, boys and girls, is to see how many hats you can balance on your head, just like the peddler in our story. All right, boys and girls, have fun on your home days. We'll see you back at school soon. Bye.